Hey everyone, welcome to Tech Down Over. I'm Rick Sammon, and I'm joined today by my good friend Down Under, where it's cold, Jeff Blanchard. Hey Jeff, how are you?
Good morning, or good afternoon, Rick, and we've got a great show today with a great guest.
We do. Larry Becker is on. We love Larry. Everybody loves Larry. His email is, "Hi Larry." It should be, "We love you, Larry." Anyway, here we go. And we are back, and we've got us in that center position of power, absolute total power. We've got Larry Becker. Hey Larry, how are you?
I could be better. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk with fellow geeks and nerds. I love this stuff.
It's fun, and you know what? We always watch what you're doing and what you're up to, and it's always fun. And you've got to be definitely on the top tier of all guests that we ever have. We just enjoy you. And so what's new in your world? I know you were doing a lot of training. Last time we saw you were doing a whole nationwide training thing with Canon. How did that turn out?
Yeah, what's interesting is I did some of that training, and very recently I ended up in New Jersey at Unique Photo. Canon had a Canon Takeover day where they basically come into the really big camera store and do everything. And so they had techs there, and they were doing free cleaning, and I was there for a presentation. They have a very nice presentation area at Unique Photo there in New Jersey. So that was a blast. And I don't have anything else scheduled with Canon, but I was on the phone with them again today. So I'm not sure, can't release anything necessarily that's coming out with Canon, but you never know.
Well, you're one of their go-to guys when they do new releases, and I can't think of a better guy to do that too, because you really represent them well, and everything you do, you represent well. So I think that's always cool to see what you're up to, and to see how the training goes. We were talking a little bit pre-show about this little baby, which is the Canon EOS R, and you said that you had a chance to use it for a while. And did you do training on this one too?
Yeah, I did on the EOS R, not the RP.
Yep.
And I had access to it. So one of the nice things is when these cameras do come out, sometimes I do small training videos that end up being for Canon to distribute to their retail outlets.
Okay.
And so in fact, I actually had a guy come up to me at Photoshop World this year and want his picture taken with me. He did a selfie with me, and he goes, "Man, I've learned so much about cameras from you. I work at Best Buy."
Really?
And all of the Canon releases had videos from you talking about what's the latest camera. So that was a chunk of what I did. But my favorite thing is Kelby One has, when a major new camera comes out, Kelby One gets a hold of that camera very, very early on. They make sure that I have hands-on with it. So it's not just Canon, it's Canon, Nikon, Sony, and I get hands-on with these cameras, and then I get to develop a script and a training structure for an hour-and-a-half class all about all the buttons and dials and bells and whistles of a new camera, so that when people get their new cameras, or even when they're thinking about it, they can watch these classes over at Kelby One and decide, is this the camera that I want, or how do I do this, or how do I do that, without digging through the manuals. And so I dig through the manuals for them, read them, and then repurpose that information into a video class.
Yeah, and it's funny because so many cameras are so similar that it's usually usually easy to go from one system to another, and then you hit those different ones and you go, where are the buttons?
Yeah, the EOS R was very different.
Was it?
Yeah, well, the way that the button bells work, and the fact that they have that kind of trackpad little thing on the back.
That's true. This thing right here.
Little thing that I know of, that it's just different stuff. And then there's a lot of programmability on the EOS R. So us Canon users for years have been able to reset a button or two, and we don't do a whole lot of that. Maybe reprogram something on the back of the camera a little bit, but this is a lot.
Was it like 15 buttons? I think there was like 15 or 19 things you could change on this. There was a lot.
At least. Because
now, it's funny. Now,
each one of those buttons can be one of dozens of functions.
Now, you're a photographer. How often do you change the buttons? I know in my case, I tend not to, because if I hand the camera to somebody, they're not going to know what I did.
Right. Well, you know, and I just, I don't think I change too awful much. There are some things that I do every single time I get a new Canon. One of them is that I go from the 2-button press to change the focus point. So Canon says, okay, you got to press this button on the back of the camera, and then you can move the focus point around. And I go to direct focus, so that the trackpad or whichever, the little button or dial or thumb joystick on whichever model of Canon camera you have, so that it automatically works right away. So I put the camera up to my eye and I can move the focus point around. So after I do a couple of little things like that, there's not a whole lot that I do. I do program in things into my menu on Canons. I'm going to program in formatting on my menu, because I format all the time and I don't want to dig through menus to format. But on Nikon, I don't do that stuff. I don't have to do either of those, because on Nikon, you are automatically in direct point selection for your autofocus point, so you don't have to push a button first. And then the other thing that Nikon has that I think is genius, and they probably have a patent on it, is why Canon's not doing it. 2 totally unrelated buttons on the camera body. You hold those both down at the same time, and that formats your memory card.
Oh, I didn't know that one. Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you pick up any Canon DSLR camera body, you look on it, you'll see a little orange FOR for format, and it's like 2 separate buttons in totally different points on the camera. And you hold those 2 down at the same time, and it formats your memory card. It's great, great idea.
Scary. I could see myself screwing that one over.
Oh no, I think that's
easy to mess up.
I think that's a great idea, Larry, that one, because with when you've got that format on a menu, you tend to go to that menu, then you flick off something else, and when you go back to that, it's always on that format, and you're always scared you hit the button. But if you had to do those, hold that 2 button, it makes it much less of a problem to do that. I see also, Larry, that you're using your 70D now to do as a webcam now. Is that what you're using today? Absolutely.
I cannot get over how much fun this is. And I don't have the circuit boards and switchers and all the stuff that you guys have. I got a really simple setup here in the home studio. And so what I did was I got some software, and believe it or not, I'm going USB, not even HDMI. So USB out of my 70D into the USB on my laptop, and then with just a little software, I have the ability to do my webcam, my 70D as my webcam. It looks great. If I step out of the scene, it'll refocus on the background because the autofocus setup is set on face focus. It's just so nice to be able to do this. And if you look back at the other videos of other times I've been on your show, I was using webcams, and in those I have an extra round face because of the wide-angle lens.
Oh, right. Yep. So what lens are you using on this one right now? Are you using like a 50 or?
You know, I'm just using the kit lens. It's the 18 to 135.
Oh yeah, that's a great lens.
It's fine, and I do have a 50 millimeter lens that I could go and really go shallow depth of field.
Yep.
But I haven't found a real need for that. And I like the setup here.
Yep.
And each time that you guys have me on, I've got a little bit better looking studio. This time the setup is better because of the camera, but also I have this really nice brick wall behind me now. Mm-hmm. That's a Rick Sammon contribution to my environment.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, yeah, that's great.
It looks real. Is it real? It looks real.
It is a $50 canvas wall hanging from Amazon.
And I thought it was real
really
too.
Good,
I thought it was actually
so real. It looks so real, so that's great. I like those ones that fool everybody. So it looks really great.
And you don't have to deal with green screen.
What I like so much about this one is that naturally, if you just light it evenly across the whole thing, it still has a bit of a halo in the middle.
Yeah.
And then that halo is also amplified today by a light that I have in the background. So I have a Westcott Solix pointed at it.
Yep.
And so that's kind of a booster highlight in the middle. So I've got an extra halo effect going on. But yeah, it's got this really nice light characteristic. So I don't have to worry as much about lighting the background when I'm doing webcasts or videos from here.
No, you look great. And you know, it's funny. You're talking about a 70D, and people going, well, that's an old camera. It's a better webcam.
Yeah.
A much better webcam, because it looks good. You got nice glass on it, and it looks good. I was wondering what you were using, because I go, that looks a little different from your other setup.
Yeah, it is a whole lot better. And the fact that I only ended up spending, I want to say $20 on the software.
Is that what software did you use?
It's actually something from, so there's this company called Ecamm, the letter E, Camm. Yeah. And they make Mac-only software. Okay. And I ran across them years ago for Skype, because they have a nice piece of software called Skype Call Recorder.
Yes.
And so I can record and save my Skype calls. Well, they came out with some additional software, and then they also had a link to some open source software. So I went to this open source software that they linked to, and I think it's called, hang on a second, it's called Camera Live. And so I went over and grabbed that. That by itself allows the Mac to recognize the 70D and back and forth. Okay, so they can talk to each other. Then on top of that, for actually controlling the video, the look of the video and things like that, I got this $20 piece of software called Eyeglasses. It's also from Ecamm, and it's the letter I and then the word glasses.
Yeah.
And there are so many cool little things that you can do. There are special effects that you can do. And here, see if I can do one.
Yeah,
there we go.
Quasimodo.
Yeah, and I can make myself look like a frog. And, there are quite a few additional effects. I can go full black and white just for a little film noir kind of thing. I can go back to the rounded look that I used to have. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in it. It's just a cheap little $20 thing, and then there's also other things that you can do with it, like I use it for my webcams now, because when I don't use the 70D and I'm just using my Logitech C920, I can zoom in with that software, and I can also warm up the light with it. So it does some pretty neat stuff.
That's actually really cool, and it looks good. I'm familiar with the company, because I used to have that Skype video recorder or call recorder. It was actually really good. And what's interesting is I don't think the 70D had an HDMI output, which is what a great way to take advantage of it. I didn't think you could do that even with the software, to take it from USB. So that's brilliant. That's pretty cool.
I think it has HDMI out, but it's not clean.
That's what it is. You get a lot of
Yeah. So going from the USB to my USB, and it's actually in through a hub. So I've got several hard drives plugged in. I've got my microphone set up, plugged in, all through the same hub. So there's a lot of information going through, and this is all to a Mac laptop, circa 2016, 2015.
Yeah. Is that the MacBook Pro?
Yeah, 2016 MacBook Pro, 13-inch, and I'm able to do all this crazy stuff.
That is actually so cool. I don't know if you could do it on the new MacBook Pro. They kind of crippled them a bit, but I think I've been listening that they're going to come back with faster MacBooks, so I hope so.
So the only problem on my old MacBooks is sort of getting to the old 17-inch, and it's getting so old now that I need a new one, but it's very hard to replace them, though, because and especially for the price, I thought, for what I need it for, I might just go for an iPad Pro. But when you look at the prices of them, that's still up to nearly $3,000 if you get, if you're anything like me, if there's a 512 gig option or a 1 terabyte option, you've got to get the 1 terabyte. No, even if you don't need it, I've got to get the top one. So
yeah. I got the new iPad Pro, and then I returned it. I didn't like it as much as the 1-year-old iPad Pro, year and a half one. I like that one better. It just did some things differently, and it was less money too. I think I paid $1,300 for the new one, and my old one was only about $9 something, and I like the old one better. So I returned it. I'll wait to see what they come out with the next one. But
that's
good.
a great thing, though, Larry. Mm-hmm. That's a great thing, Larry. With
my regular old iPad, I have a 2018 iPad, and I like it because it works with my Apple Pencil.
Is that your Pro? So, that's a Pro, right?
No.
Oh, it's not a Pro?
Normal one.
No.
What is it? Is it the Air?
No, it's the 2018. It's the cheap one from 2018.
I didn't think they made them anymore. So I thought they were only doing Air and the Pro. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was. I want to say it was like $500, even with the extra memory.
Yeah,
and it works with the Apple Pencil. So I did have to buy the Apple Pencil separately, but it's a great setup.
I'm still old-fashioned. I've still just got the second generation iPad. I've got the first one and then the second one. So anything in an iPad, any of the newer ones, is going to seem like it's very fast.
Well,
but Larry, with that setup.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, Jeff. I said, Larry, with that setup you've got, though, it sounds like it's very portable. So you could take it anywhere and set it up within about 10 minutes. Would that be true?
Yeah, and I use this Logitech keyboard. It's called a Keys to Go keyboard. Mm-hmm. It is crazy thin and super efficient, and so the whole setup goes in my briefcase like this.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
Yeah, not much to it.
So Larry, are you going to buy that new Mac Pro?
No, I already have a keys grater.
Oh my gosh, the new one is so expensive for what you get. That's $6,000 starting price, and you get basically a low-end laptop. It's like, why did they do this? So you got to spend $10,000 to $15,000 to get a real kick-butt machine. I don't know how many people are going to buy that. It's so expensive.
Yeah, then come to Australia. I said,
I want the stand. I want
the stand.
Yeah, that's all. Just the $1,000 stand.
I was just going to say, come here. Whatever you say in your prices, put 35% on it, and then that's about what it costs here. So when you say $15,000, I'm looking probably 23 or 22. So,
wow.
But I mean, it's so. But I suppose it's expensive, but it's for those people who are that high end that 5 minutes makes a huge difference in production costs. If it saves you 5 minutes, it might save you $20,000-$30,000. Hey, they might.
I don't think it's really geared towards photography or video. It's an architectural design machine. It's for that kind of stuff, because that's where you really need all the power. Video doesn't need that much power. You can get by with a pretty fast machine and nobody would notice. But when you're doing the architectural drawings and the 3D analysis and model analysis and temperature and whatever, yeah, you need a lot of power, but that's a lot of money. I guess you have to be a good architect for that. It's going to be interesting.
I think.
Hey, Larry, you were telling us pre-show that you also do voiceover.
Oh yeah, I do. I do voiceover. I do TV commercials now and then, and mostly industrial video kind of things. So. Yeah. Some of my friends have clients who have a need for that kind of thing. And I hear it all the time where people say, I listened to your podcast with Rick Sammon, and you should do voiceover work. Yeah. And, I credit the Heil PR40 microphone that I use, because it makes me sound better than I deserve.
You've always had a good voice, though. So I think the Heil maybe accentuates it a bit, but you've always had a good voice. Even when you've been on the shows before, and I've watched all your podcasts, you always sound good. And what I like about your voice, which is hard for a lot of people to do, and that's to have a natural voice that's friendly.
Yes, that's right.
And yet you can do things with your voice rather than you're trying to be something you're not. Your voice is very naturally good and friendly, which I love. It's like you said, for commercials. It's the not. I wouldn't say it's an every guy voice, because that tends to be not a good voice.
Right.
Well, we get out here in California, the every guy voice is sort of a semi-retard. You go, why are they using this for a voiceover? and you have a nice, professional, normal, good voice, and that's what I love about it. And we do a lot of training, and so does Jeff. And what he does, you have a perfect e-learning voice that would not get anybody bored, but yet would make them feel comfortable.
Yeah, I have explained technology so much for 15 years that one of the things, and I think I probably talked about this on the first time that I was on your show, and that is there was a real revelation moment for me when I was doing videos for so long, because my first earliest videos on VHS were training for Palm Pilots. And I had come from, going to school in the 80s, and then anything that I watched, any professor that was in front of me, they all used big words, and they all used very stilted language in order to appear intelligent, smart. And so I thought that's what you had to do, and I did that in the early days. That there's high cringe factor there.
Yeah.
And then I got to where I was explaining things and trying to be a bit more relatable in the scripts that I would write to describe cameras, but I still wasn't really connecting. And then there was an aha moment when I was watching a show, an awards show that my wife had on, and the presenter was presenting to the camera but not to any live audience. There were no people there, and the person was talking and smiling the whole time. I'm like, what the heck is that guy smiling about? That's just weird. But I wasn't paying attention to the audio, the content of what he was saying. I was paying attention to his presentation style, and I liked that he was smiling. And so I went to work the next week, and so I was doing B&H camera reviews, and my team was recording me, and we've been doing this for a couple of years already. And so I decided I'm just going to smile like a crazy person all the time through the whole training video. And the scripts were already written, just exactly like we always did. So I wrote the review scripts, and then they get approved by the tech people, and then my team's there to record me, and they were recording me. And after we did a session of one of the reviews, a person on my team said, "What did you do? Did you go to like a seminar this weekend or something? You are so much better on camera." And I didn't say what I was doing, but all I was doing was smiling a lot.
Isn't it interesting?
The editor that got that camera or got that footage and edited it together said, "You are doing so much better on camera. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." They didn't know what I was doing. Then it shows up at B&H, and my people at B&H that review what I did and then approve it or pre-approve it or make whatever final corrections. They're like, this is your best review so far. This is so good. And all I did was smile. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing for 2 weeks.
No, and you know what? I've seen all of your B&H stuff, and this is key. If you're going to smile, it has to be natural. Because you can always tell when somebody's faking the smile because the eyes never stop looking or staring. So it's like, and people look kind of crazy when they do that. You never had that look. You always looked extremely natural, and you had that kind of, as a viewer, I go, man, I want what he's selling or reviewing. I was going, I want that. It's funny how you project when anyone projects in that natural way, like you're really enjoying something. That's an instant sale for whoever you're doing it for. It really is. And so
I seriously doubt that I could do anything like that for Bleach. I'm reviewing camera gear. I love this crap. I just have so much fun talking about lenses and cameras. And I used to get emails now and then where people would go, "You never say anything bad about any camera." And I'm like, "Yeah, did you see this review?" I'll ding a camera but I mean, look what Canon and Nikon and Sony come out with. It's great gear. So easy to get excited about all the bells and whistles and all the features and functions. And every once in a while there's a little thing you got to ding them on, but not bad stuff. So it's easy to be positive about that.
I think Canon laughs all the way to the bank. Got bad review. Best-selling camera in market 2018. It's like that M50. People criticize it. They hate it. This and that. Yeah. It's the largest selling mirrorless camera in the world. So Canon goes, "Yeah, okay, so you hate it. Who cares? We just made a fortune on it." And they're smart. And I still think no matter, sometimes Canon is irritating because you just kind of question why they do certain things. But whenever you get a camera, I've never really felt I didn't get my value's worth. And I always enjoy them. And I never have a hard time learning it. Even the EOS R, which has this funky, little strip, they could have left that out. I would have preferred it. I can use it. It's okay. It's just that it's slow. And the way they did white balance on this could be better. It's 2 steps versus 1. But you can live with it. Everything's adjustable. Once you get used to it, you don't notice it anymore. But other than that, it's just like having another Canon camera. They're very similar. The buttons may be slightly different, but within minutes, not hours or weeks, minutes, you kind of go, I got it. It's okay. And just great cameras. And we've got one. Harold has the 5D SR, and same thing. He just picked it up right away. Jeff's got some Canon, and they're easy to pick up. And if you have a Canon from 10 years ago to today, they're similar. And so Canon goes, hey, we got ergonomics down pat. Nobody beats us. And they're right. They don't. The ergonomics are really good on them. Except I would say Panasonic with the GH5, the GH5S, and the G9 has almost the same ergonomics as a Canon. It's almost like they copied the whole buttons, the way they feel, everything, almost to a T. And that's, I would say, the second best feeling camera I've ever had. So it's just kind of interesting. So you can't go wrong.
No question.
But as I said, with the Canon, it's one of those cameras that you always rely on. Like it's one of those, when you take it, you know it's always going to work for you. There's so many other brands that you hear that failed on shoots, this and that, but you very rarely hear of a Canon totally failing. Usually it's the person behind the camera that fails rather than the camera itself.
Well, Larry, I know some people who shoot professionally. They shoot camcorders, they shoot C100s, C200s, C300s from Canon. They shoot the 5D Mark IV, 3, and I ask these guys, why do you shoot Canon? And they go, oh, I want reliability, never break. And I said, because they all know about Sony, they've shot Sonys, they've shot everything else, but given a chance, they always go to Canon. And they said, we've shot it all, reliability. They said, no matter what we're shooting, we've dropped them, they don't break. The lenses don't shear off, the camera doesn't break. They go, they just work. And to them, that's more important than just about anything else. They use C100s, 200s. They go, yeah, it's a lot more expensive, but you know what? When we're on a shoot, it's worth it. And so, what can you say? When something doesn't break and it's reliable, maybe it doesn't have every giga in the world, but you get the job done, that's a good camera.
One of the things that's kind of interesting in my world, I'm doing a lot of video production, but the simple kind. So I'm helping photographers who have DSLRs for the most part, and some of them have EOS Rs. But I'm helping photographers step into simple video. So not multi-camera production and not even moving camera, just lockdown camera, simple business videos. And so with that in mind, there are things that the Canon cameras do a little bit better than some of the others. I really love the focus systems for video. Sony does a great job there too. And I also like the audio, the onboard audio. And for the most part, and with a couple exceptions, I like the file type options, that what you can save things as. So don't love Motion JPEG as the giant 4K on one of the cameras, but for the most part, MP4 for simple video production, small file size, quick turnaround. I like that on some of the Canon cameras you can even do HDR video and just there in camera, and that's really, really a cool function.
And a lot of people forget about camcorders, but Canon makes some of the best camcorders out there. I'm shooting on a Canon camcorder right now, which is the XF405. It's a great camcorder. We also spent, at the end of last year, we bought the XF750, is that what it was? 705, I'm sorry. The XF705, that was about a $7,000 camcorder. It shoots beautifully. It's a beautiful camera. It's like the old bigger ones. It's really nice, but not that big. It's just big enough. It weighs more than like this one I have, but it shoots 4K beautifully. Don't have any heating issues. Can do all sorts of just nice stuff, and the focus is right on. Like you said, that dual pixel autofocus just works. Oh, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, the dual pixel is amazing technology. I remember when that very first came out with, ironically, we were talking about it earlier, the 70D, and that was really kind of the start of my working with Canon. because what ended up happening was I was doing reviews, camera reviews at the Kelby Studios in Florida, but doing them for B&H in New York. We had a set built that looked like it was in the B&H store, but it was actually in our Florida studio.
That's clever.
And yeah, what's really funny is then the B&H people came down and looked at it, and they said, "That's amazing. Can you send us the specs on this? We want to build something like this in our studio." So we actually built something that looked like their store before they did. But anyway, I'm doing this review of the 70D. Now, the cool thing about it was, and I had to sign some special NDAs, you always do in this industry, and they got me a 70D before they came out. B&H did, because they can. And so I did the review, and then the week it rolled out, I actually had my review of the 70D go live on the B&H YouTube channel. And my opening sentence or two was something about the camera, and I said, but if you're into video at all, this camera is a game changer. And what I was talking about was dual pixel CMOS autofocus, and the fact that you can do that during live view was really different. And so I talked about that a bit in this 11, 12, 13-minute review of the camera. And then that video was popular enough at Canon because it came from B&H. It was popular at Canon, and Canon then used the word game changer, or the phrase game changer, as their promotional slogan for the 70D. And then our people at Kelby reached out to Canon and said, "Hey, if you like that review, we're the ones that did it. Would you like us to do some videos for you?" And they said, "Yeah, we actually need a training video about the 70D that we can put out internally to teach our people about it and to teach camera vendors about it." And so I ended up doing my first ever video with Mitch Glick from, he was my tech person from Canon, and he talked me through it, and we got to be friends at that point. And so that was my very first ever project for Canon, all because of dual pixel and the 70D and my friends at B&H. So a little bit of backstory there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, there's rumors, this is the rumor sites right now, that the 90D, or something, I think they're going to call it 90D, is really a combination of the 80D with the 7D Mark II, or maybe 3, whatever they're going to call it. Sounds like they're combining them into one, so that's going to be interesting. It's supposed to shoot 4K. We don't know what they're going to do. These are all the rumor specs. So that'll be interesting, because the 80D's been now about 3 years since it's been out. So they haven't really come out with a new one. They're about right on cycle. So that might be another game-changing camera, because the 80D is a great camera. The 70D was the one that changed it all and really got video going on this stuff. So, yeah, I think fun times ahead.
Yeah, I love the 80D that I have, and they did add some interesting things, and I couldn't believe it. I was talking behind the scenes with my friends at Canon here in the U.S., and I'm like, are you guys serious that you really want to call a camera ADD?
I know.
Making sense to me. And I'm like, and it was really hard. Anytime I would go on video doing the review for the 80D,
I know.
I had to make specific mental notes, and I'd write special stuff in the script for the teleprompter, so that I would always emphasize 80D and put a little extra space in there, so that I was never saying this camera is called the ADD, because
I know.
You know, deficit disorder jokes were all over the place anyway. And but by the way, you're right. It's a great camera, and I have one. I have one myself.
Yeah, it is a good camera. It's pretty cool, and I love the 7D Mark II. That was an incredibly good camera. I sold that one, and that was one of the ones when I sold. I went, I wish I had kept it. It did such good photography, and especially anything fast. It was incredible.
Yeah, that was a beast for high shutter speed, high frame rate.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
And accurate. I teach martial arts on the side, and I did some moves like that, really fast moves. Everything was in focus. It didn't miss a beat. I was going, this is pretty darn good. Shutter speed 1,000, perfect. 1,000. It was perfect. Great. Yeah, it was a fun camera. 12
frames a second on burst mode or more, 12 or 14. I don't remember.
I think it was about 12. in burst, but it could go forever.
Yeah.
It was a great camera for a sports camera. It was solid. It was just, I love that camera. So yeah, I've sold a lot of cameras I've loved, and I go, why did I sell that one? That was a good one. I should have kept it. But you know, it's funny. At one point I got rid of almost all my Canons, and I'm starting to buy them again. So, you know, there's still the good. I actually bought not the whole, but we bought 3 of the top Sony cameras, sold them all in 6 months. They were great. I like the Canons better. And funny, huh?
Well, it's what you're used to, and it's how you use it.
And they work well for video. They seem better. For us, they worked a bit better. Focus is darn good on the Sonys, though. I don't know what they're using, kind of a hybrid dual pixel kind of thing. Something similar, but not quite. But boy, it works well. But so does Canon. They're both really good at focus. Nikon focus, not so hot. It's okay, but not as good.
I was pretty shocked to hear that Nikon has actually dropped to 3rd place after Sony and Canon for
Isn't that amazing?
Total focus.
Yeah, what an industry. But anyway, well, we are just about out of time. Larry, do you have any announcements to make? Anything you're doing?
You know what? I just did Photoshop World in Orlando. I've got another one of those coming up in Las Vegas. I'm hosting Photoshop World in Las Vegas, so that's in August.
Oh, great.
And I have some cool stuff that I actually can give away for free. So this is an eBook that I wrote, 6 profitable video recipes for photographers. And you can get it here.
Oh,
so
nice. Okay.
bit.ly/video recipes. And you got to capitalize the V and the R of video recipes, and there's no spaces. So you can do bit.ly/video recipes or bit.com/capital V, capital R on video recipes. So you can have the book for free.
That sounds good. We'll put that in the show notes too.
Cool. Oh, there you go. It's right there on screen. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
As always, always giving, Larry, always giving out to others. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm actually doing something this week. Well, actually, for the next 3 weeks, I'm doing free stuff for photographers. I just want to help photographers, and it's just helping them. I'm doing it all as live stream videos on my personal Facebook page, which only my friends can see. So then I'm saving those and reposting them on my YouTube channel. So that's over at youtube.com/Larry Becker. All one word, and capitals don't matter. It doesn't matter on that. So youtube.com/Larry Becker, and starting next week on Monday for 3 weeks, I'm going to do something every day, every weekday, and help photographers for free.
Cool.
Oh, good.
That is great. Well, Larry, as always, it's a pleasure to see you and to just talk. And now, Larry, are you close to Miami?
No, I'm right in the middle of the state up and down, and I'm in the middle of Florida left and right. So I'm between Orlando and Tampa.
Got it. Oh, you're over there. Okay, you're up north. Next time we go to Orlando, then we'll probably try to sneak a visit to you.
There you go.
That sounds great. Well, anyway, you've got his information. It'll be in the show notes below. Get a hold of Larry, and he does voiceover. He does training. You name it. He's very good at what he does, and we've always enjoyed Larry and the work he produces. Go back and look at some of those B&H videos, especially where he's teaching photography basics. They're great. Trust us, we're experienced people, and yet we're watching going, that's really cool. He did a great job on those. So, always appreciate it, Larry. And if you're watching the show, thank you much. We have contact info for Larry down there for you, and we will see you next week. Have a good one. Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye, Larry. Thanks.
See you guys.